Welcome everyone to my Comics Collectors Corner podcast and YouTube show. Mr. Comics 89 here, just hanging out. It's been a while since I've done anything but an ASM review for this particular podcast. But I recently saw the Across the Spider-Verse movie, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably saw as well. And there's a character on there that kind of fascinated me a lot. And I knew one person in the Spider-Man community who was really passionate, cares a lot about that character. So I thought I'd invite her on and we could have a little talk about her favorite character, and maybe she can tell me a little bit more about Spider-Punk, since I still don't know very much about him. So please welcome from the Spider-Man Crawl Space, Sarah Pezel, right?
Yeah, you got it. Awesome.
Yay, yay, I can be taught.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so yeah. I first saw Sarah on Spider-Man Crawl Space on a collector's episode. She had quite a bit of a collection. I think I have a lot of clutter around my office here, but all these other collections on these shows, I'm like, man, I am a shiny newbie compared to you guys. It's like I have to bow down to the
Oh,
master.
no way. No way. I feel the same way. Did you see the most recent one that they did? I was like, oh my God, I need to up my collection.
Yeah, I mean, most of my stuff is pictures and comics kind of thing,
Mm.
so that's why it's like you can see my wall and you can kind of see what I own. That's about it. I don't have very much boxes of stuff unless you count pops.
I
Kind of.
see you got some issues back there that I want.
Oh, this one here, yeah, yeah, it's one of my favorites. Tell you what, for half the price, I'll sell you half the issue.
Oh, oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
I love that.
a little the trading card. I want to get it graded, but graded at by a company and have it posted right next to the original. That's one of my favorites. Which is why it's behind me. Yeah, I own a complete collection of Amazing Spider-Man and almost have every single annual. So that's my claim to fame and all that. So you recently got a few issues yourself, ASM 100 and things like that. But yeah, before we dive down into getting lost in our own thoughts, why don't you introduce yourself for a little bit for the rest of us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have been collecting Spider-Man things, of all kinds, since the first movie came out. How old was I? Like 10, 11.
Hmm.
Um, and basically anything that I think is cool, I'll be like, yeah, I'll get that. I have a couple of things that I just recently picked up that I was going to show you should you ask about that. And
Hmm.
one of my biggest goals is to, like you, own all of the Amazing Spider-Man comics. So I'm working on that. Going okay.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I another one of my claim to fame is people would wonder if I was crazy. I collected the entire collection from 0 to 100% complete in just over 1,200 days.
What?
And
Wow.
that's because when I get a bug and a passion and itch for something, it's very hard. It's like not only putting a cement brake on the gas pedal, but I disable the brakes and then glue the pedal down. And so now I'm out of control. And so it's like I'm very good at finding money when I really want to.
Okay,
And
we're gonna
so
talk later about that.
and so it's like going like, oh, I can step on a dime and get three quarters out of it. So that's why I wonder at how I do things sometimes. So it's like I should do a self-help or a how to do it, but then like every time I try to explain it, I'm going like, don't you understand A, B, C, D, F parentheses? Come on, everyone knows that. Anyway, so yeah, let's talk a little bit more. What's your collecting like? You said you've been in there since the first movie in 2002. That's what? Oh, what? 11 years now? No, 20,
I
21.
was like, wait a second. Yeah, well, so it started off with the first Spider-Man thing I ever really owned. My mom had bought for me, and it
Mm-hmm.
was from the first movie, and I was absolutely in love with it. It is, I have it. I can go get it if you want, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the wall climb Spider-Man. So you hook him to the wall and you turn him on, and he falls down, and then he climbs back up. with his like 2 points of articulation like this.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I remember you showing that off. Yeah, on the
mhm,
earlier episode. Yeah, that little thing. Yeah. I mean, Mike. I remember me. I swear I would have gotten into collecting comics sooner had I realized what I was actually reading. Somewhat was actually comics, but it was
mhm,
when they were called graphic novels. Novel means book in my mind, and so
mhm,
I was just reading a book with a lot more pictures, and
mhm.
I didn't realize at the time. And so between graphic novels and oh, the '90s Spider-Man show, that's really cool. But it took a bunch of different little steps to it took A, B, C, D, E before F happened.
Mhm.
And then I finally got the bug to collect comics because, oh, I can collect just these 4 issues of my favorite first appearances of my favorites of Superman from my favorite story arc, the Death and Reign of Superman, and those 5 issues are all I need. They can be displayed on the wall. That'll be it.
If only.
Yeah, just like, oh, one tattoo and I'm done, and I cannot count a single part of my body that doesn't have at least one tattoo somewhere. So it's like, well, I should stop saying never because never happens.
um, after that toy though,
Hmm.
obviously I was a kid, so I had my allowance that I spent on various things, but I didn't really start actually collecting comic books until I was in college, around 2000, 2009. And there was my local comic book store always had my pull for me, always would let me know about any of these extra back issues that they just pulled, and they're like, yo Sarah, you got to check this out. I'm like, all right, bet, let me see, and it'd be like issues in the like 300s and 200s and stuff that they would have. I remember
Hmm.
one time he had Amazing Fantasy 15, and I was like, "There's
Ooh.
no put that away. I ain't affording that. Put it away. Get it out of here. I don't even want to look at it. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to see it. Just no."
Yeah, I should have found a way to make it work. I saw on eBay once, 2.5, 3 years ago,
Mhm.
coverless. I think Amazing Fantasy 15 was like $1,000, and
That's
I'm going
it.
like, I think it was $1,000 or $1,500. I'm not sure.
Still,
I,
that's it. Like that's crazy.
well, I might be mistaking. Maybe add another zero there. Probably. I don't know. Somewhere between $1,000 and $10,000. Chump change for everyone, right?
Oh
but
yeah,
I,
no big deal.
but I remember thinking, going like, hey, honey, I'm the one who pays the house bill anyway. Do you mind if we renegotiate the mortgage? Get get, it's right there.
Get that to happen. Yeah.
Well, I'm the one who pays the bill. I'm the one who pays the mortgage payment anyway. So it's like, why can't I not, make a higher bill for myself and get what I want?
Yeah.
But I
Yep.
didn't do it. I was responsible. You know.
Boo.
Yes, yes, boo. But I do own a single graded page of Amazing Fantasy 15. I bought it off of eBay for just over $300. So I own a piece of Amazing Fantasy 15. So I can claim to own every single part, every single issue from AF15 all the way to current, because that single page, it still counts. Someone out there bought little letters or numbers associated with Action Comics #1, and then, well, it's a piece of that comic book. They own it, so kudos for them. At least I have a page.
Well, okay, so I have a question for you then.
Hmm.
Years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago, there was this company, I forget their name, but they would buy popular pop culture items and sell shares of these items to people so that you owned part of the issue. Does that
Hmm.
still count?
I would say it counts, on some level at least, for sure, because well, at least I can say mine's in the back,
Yeah,
kind of
that's
a
true.
things. Yours is safely under lock and key somewhere, and the only thing now, with your whole this certificate says you own this, so you
Hmm.
know. So, I mean, you can claim to, I say my claim is stronger because I actually have it in hand. But it
Uh-huh.
all depends on how you see things, honestly. Some people would say my page doesn't count for anything, especially since it doesn't have Spider-Man on it. It doesn't count. So, but that label still says Amazing Fantasy 15, Origin of Spider-Man, and so it's like going like, that label says "Ha." You know.
Yeah, I would be bringing that everywhere with me. Hey guys, look what I got.
Yeah. So, what did you think about the Miles movie that just came out? I am honestly still in debate on which one I like more. The first movie is a all around, you know, Miles Morales movie is all around more complete because it wasn't meant to be broken into two. But I
Mhm.
still love Miles here in the whole my Spider-Man my way. Afterwards, like I want to join, but then I'll measure up to you guys. Well, to you too, and I'm out of here. What do you think of the movie?
I thought the movie was amazing. Now I hate saying whether it's better than the first one or not because a bunch of people have asked me that, and it's like the first one had its purpose, it had its reason for being there, and it
Mm-hmm.
was what it was. The second one's different, and although it's part of the same trilogy or however many they're going to make, like
Yeah.
I don't want to say whether one was better than the other because in my brain they have two completely different purposes. One is to put that story out there to everybody who wants to go see it and get the word out and establish those characters and all that. And then the second
Mm-hmm.
one is, continuing that journey. So I'm here for the ride. I'll start
Uh-huh.
with that. But as far as I man, are we? I assume we're allowed since it's so far out. We're allowed to do spoilers in here.
Yes, I mean this we're
Okay.
so far out. If anyone hasn't seen the movie by now, they should have.
Just
You
want to
know.
be respectful,
Yeah.
Um, so I've seen it several times. The first time I went to go see it was in 4DX,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if you've ever been to a 4DX movie, but I was sitting there. I had my drink with me. I had my popcorn, and I hadn't been to a 4DX movie in years, like since Far From Home came out.
Uh,
And so it's improved a lot since I was there. So I'm like, I'm in the seat, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great. And then the intro of the movie comes in and it starts with Gwen's drumming. You're like, okay, cool. I feel it a little bit. Awesome. It goes along with the music. I love the art. I love how um you can see different just that particular scene. You can see
oh
different
yeah.
parts of the drum set, and
Mm-hmm.
then it comes back to reality and you can see everything. Then the web swinging happened and the seat started moving, and I'm like trying not to drop my drink and I set my popcorn down because it's not going so good for me. So I was very distracted the first time I saw it, which is why I
Yeah.
saw it four more times, and that's going to be my excuse as well. Uh, I really loved. I would say the top thing in that movie is the art and the way that they handled the art. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Thinking to the scene where Gwen is talking to her father after he's
Mm-hmm.
already found out she's Spider Gwen. She comes back from Spider-Man 2099 land. I don't remember the Earth numbers, so sorry.
I think it's
Um,
83 or 86, 87. It's somewhere in the 80s. No, 64. 64. Got it. I was
one of
wrong.
those numbers. So she gets back, right? And she's talking to her dad. And at first, everything's very clear, and there's clear lines where you can see, like, the edge of the poster, or like the edge of the door, or the floor, or stuff on her bed. And then
Mm-hmm.
as it goes throughout the conversation, the art style changes and it kind of blends into more of this, like, I don't want to say dreamscape. That's what I think in my brain, but that's not what it was. It was just more like watercolory, and I mean, you've seen it. I'm sure people who are listening have seen it, and I was just
Yeah.
amazed at the art, like incredible.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the most enjoyable parts there too. During her scenes on her Earth, I was half watching the characters interacting, and I was half watching the world. The
Hmm.
walls melting, like the watercolor that they were. Just yeah, very interesting. And one of my the most interesting, like I said, one of the most interesting parts of that movie to me was the character. It was the introduction of two characters, particularly, I guess, that I never didn't really know before. I mean, I knew Spider India, but
Okay.
I still can't quite get my grip on him. I mean, maybe it's just because it's too culturally different from me that it's a fit that glove doesn't fit, exactly, and it is what it is. It's just a personal preference. But Spider Punk, I always I read I read the 4 out of the 5 issues of the Spider-Punk miniseries that
Mm.
I believe you did reviews on
Mhm.
on the Crawl Space
Yeah, I
Patreon.
call it Spider-Punk Avengers.
Yeah, I mean, could not enjoy that story. That's why I didn't get the 5th issue. It was just I'm like, why? And then I'm just so when I saw Spider-Punk was this movie, I'm going like, okay, here we go. Let's see, But then when he burst onto the stage here, and was like, this guy is actually cool. And for the longest time I'm going like, what's different about? I mean, maybe I can't understand 2D on the page, but to hear the attitude or to hear the subtlety and to see the character brought to life was going like, I can like this character. I don't like him in the comic books, but I think I can
Mhm.
like him when he's brought to life and he's in person for
Mhm.
parentheses in person. But so that's what I really liked him and just how he was. I understand from your review on the crawl space, you were a little let down. I think, or I'm mistaken. About
Yeah, well, so okay, I have a question for you first. Have you read the like first appearance of Spider-Punk and those I believe it was like some Spider-Verse from
yes,
2014?
yeah.
So you've
I've
read that.
read. Yeah, I read the I've well it's part it's is part is part of my it is part of my complete collection, but as I
Mhm.
do enjoy the Spider-Verse crossovers and all that.
Mhm.
That's one of the Dan Slott's stories I enjoyed is the most is the Spider-Verse.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I'm
Okay.
familiar with him
Okay,
from there.
so the reason I ask is because the his initial appearances versus that mini series that had just recently been released are are a little different for me. And that goes into how I felt about the characters. So I felt like we have three different versions of the character, in my opinion. We have the first appearance and the several few issues after that. We have that Spider Punk miniseries that you were talking about, and now we have
Hmm.
the Spider Punk in the movies. And in the movies, I while I love the art, I think it was a little distracting him changing constantly, but I understand why. I get the vibe, I get what they were going for. I've loved punk music since I was a kid, and I was really big
Hmm.
into that kind of scene. So, like, I understand not only on the page but also in the movie what they're going for. However, I thought the main reason that I didn't, and I don't even know if I said this on the crawl space because I was trying to keep it short, but the main reason that I wasn't the biggest fan of Spider Punk in the movie is because he just seemed a lot very extra to me in the way that he was representing like his personality, you know what I mean? It
Hmm.
was like, oh, down with the patriarchy, like all the time. It's like, dude, okay, like no, it took in my opinion, it took away from like the hobby of it all, trying to
Yeah.
find out who he is and stuff. It was more like a gimmick for lack of better word, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's playing your role, and then there's people knowing you're playing your role. So it doesn't seem natural.
Yeah. But I did love how he helped um Spider-Gwen out in the end.
Hmm.
I thought that was perfect, and and noticing the detail going back to that art again on that movie, but the detail on the well, let's call it a spider watch. I don't know what to call it, but um, with his particular one, you're like, yeah, that's Spider Punk's because there was like stuff written all over it and stickers patched on it and everything, and I appreciated that. I wish he would have played guitar. That I mean, he had one on him the whole time, but he had never played it. I'm like, man, that's a missed opportunity right there.
That's his alter ego, and everyone knows he can't reveal his stage face.
Yeah, right. You can't
But
hear my sound. You guess who I am.
yeah, but that was just I just when I watching him and listening to him. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he did. If you study it, I definitely see where you're coming from. The whole seems like he was playing it up a little bit, but at the same time, I could relate to this character in a way that I couldn't relate to India, and you know, I like to. In a way, I always joke to myself when I'm watching reviews on the crawl space that I should be a member on the panel because I would be the present voice. People are looking in the past. This is not like the past, and they're a little too focused on what it should be. And I'm like going, this is the issue I read. I didn't read any other issue. This issue was great. Kind of a thing. And
It's really hard to
yeah,
do that,
I
you
seem
know.
to have a I seem to maybe it's because I've read. I think one of the reasons why I think is because one of the things that is my one of my foundational stones. That if you took this away, I would be a completely different person. Harry Potter was a foundation of my childhood. It was the book that I started reading in fourth grade that my teacher introduced us to. I loved. I was reading the first book with my mom. So that was like an hour bedtime story thing. When my parents got divorced, it was the only thing that was holding me together as my anchor. And so I
Mm,
was this was my Harry Potter became my whole world, the passion thing I was most passionate about ever. And so as I got older and discovered the internet, I was finding fan fiction stories. And so I must have read 150, 200 different Harry Potter stories. So just like
mm,
the Spider Verse, where there is, Spider India, Spider Punk, or there is thousand Peter Parkers, and the different. This one has this one's a blonde, this one's a redhead, this one never divorced Mary Jane, this one had 5 kids, kind of a thing. I can see all these different stories with Harry Potter that I loved because each one, not all of them were great, but a vast
mm.
majority of them that I continue to that I remember were. And so it's very hard for me to focus on, okay, this particular book now sucks because it's not what it was in the past when I can see all these different stories. Well, okay, well, it wasn't like it was in the past, but this issue as it stands alone in its own universe is great. And so maybe I'm being too forgiving in my opinions. It's one of the reasons why I shocked when I commented my grade in the chat. You made a comment going, I'd like to hear more why Mr. Comics thinks this. And I'm going like,
Mhm.
well, it's like, well, it's hard to explain just over lettering, but I'm I can be a little too forgiving, I guess, a little too in the present, but it's a skill that I learned and can focus on. I mean, when I live, I imagine the future in stories. I remember what I read in books, but I always exist in the present in the
Mhm.
story. So that's why even if it's I hate this, it's the worst thing ever over here, you know, George and JR and Chi-Town, I hate Paul, I hate this, I hate this. But I'm like, I can see where it makes sense. And while I don't like it, I won't fail it, because I enjoyed it enough.
Yeah, yeah, well, and I don't think that that's them, like, not hating the present because it's not like the past. I
Of
think
course.
there's a lot more to why,
Yeah.
they don't like that. But what you were saying about reading fan fiction and stuff like that
Mm.
reminded me of, when I was a kid, I learned how to make a website. I was like 12 years old. I had unrestricted access to the internet. Thanks, mom. Probably shouldn't have. And so I went on X page, and I think it's since closed. But it hosted websites that for free that
Mm.
you could create whatever you wanted. So I had this Spider-Man website that I had posted up, and it had been like it. My inspiration was seeing my first Spider-Man website that I visited was spiderfan.org, and then later the Crawlspace website. So I'm looking at
Uh-huh.
these websites. I'm like, oh man, there's all this information there. I want to do something like that. So I started doing that, and I just remember all the research, like because you didn't have Marvel Unlimited like you have
Hmm.
now, where you could pretty much access whatever comic you wanted on there. So I just remember hours and hours of just reading, whether it was in the comics or not in the comics, stories
Uh-huh.
about Spider-Man. And then when I think about how I am now, and especially with the current run of Spider-Man and like the movie that came out and all that, it's like I don't know if there's much that I'm not down for the ride for with Spider-Man,
Yeah.
because the and while I wasn't the as so go so with Spider Punk, right? While I wasn't the biggest
Hmm.
fan, I still thought I still think the character is great. I thought it
Mhm.
was great in the movie. It just wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah.
So that's also another part of it. It doesn't make it not great. Doesn't make
Yeah.
that character not great. And forgot where I was going with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was somewhere. I
Yeah.
was going somewhere.
It
But
want it left me wanting to see more of the character in the next movie. I mean, I'm glad he
mhm.
joined Gwen's band and all that. I mean, Spider
Oh,
I don't remember if India. I don't remember if Spider-Man India was in the group. I remember every member of the old gang was there from the first movie, and I
mm,
remember Punk, but I don't remember if India was there. But like I said, the movie left me going like, I want to know more of his story in the movie of Spider-Punk. Because like I said, I think I can understand and relate to that character off the
mm,
page rather than on it.
mm.
India, I'm like, okay, here's the comic that came out here recently in FOC, and I got it, and I tried to read it, and I'm going like, okay, well, I'll stick to the movie for India because that was a failed effort, So it's like on India, I'll leave India to the niche that he
Mm.
fits, whoever that reader is,
Mm.
But India was like, yeah, I liked his relationship to Miles, like like teaching him to use his whole hand, and just in a way down with
We
the
know that wasn't that Spider Punk?
yeah, that's what
Okay,
I believe I was referring
okay.
to it. But if not, yeah, I was talking
Sorry.
about Spider-Punk. Yeah, to use his, he was teaching Miles that and almost like to be his own man, be careful what you're trying to join. It might not be what this is like. Well, like this guy makes a lot of sense, Yeah, just
Well, and it also gives you like good advice for real life in general. Like, know what
hmm
you're signing up for before you go do something. And that's one of the redeeming qualities of that character in the movie that I really enjoyed. Because of that. Like, not like um, anarchy and all that, but also like, here I'm trying to help you out, kid. You know.
yeah, yeah. The black sheep of I'm the black sheep of my family. In pretty much every single way. And so to see somebody who's a black sheep of a Spider-Man, in a sense, to question, he's a part of this group, but yet he's saying, this is not all it's all, meant to be. It's just like I could see myself in this person. So it's a really cool. Um, anyway, I lost my own thought here. So it's like, I'm
One thing
thinking,
I do wish, I wish that we would have learned the or seen the start of Spider Punk being in that whole group. I think that would be interesting to see how they got him to go there.
yeah, I see. I picture, mentally going like, I'll tear Big Brother down from the inside.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Yeah.
Because the best, because it makes total sense. The strong, I'm a student of history. I love history, and the greatest empire, the strongest empires in history are not usually brought down from the outside until they destroyed themselves and rotted from the inside. You know,
Mhm.
the the when the Roman Empire split and became East and West, the Byzantine Empire in the East didn't fall for another 1,000 years, and it only fell after it corrupted itself and the invention of the cannon. And so, yeah, it made sense that this Spider-Man 2099, which is not like, if I'm mistaken, is not like he is in the comic books, but I do enjoy
No.
this. Like I said, I enjoy these characters I don't know really anything about from the comics, seeing them in person. I like this, although I can't quite figure the whole vampire-esque
Yeah.
attitude, but
Ye
I keep thinking it's like a side effect from his time exposure with that other world or something like that when he tried to give himself a family. It's like
yeah.
almost like he destabilized himself trying to claim another world, and now he has to constantly cure himself to hold himself
Mhm.
together. I look forward to finding more about his story in the next movie too.
Well, and that reminds me, you saying that about like, oh, he's different than the comics. Well, 2099, and it applies to Spider Punk too.
Mm.
Well, any Spider character in the movie, really. Here's the thing. I had this conversation with a friend the other day, and we were talking about how a lot of people tend to want the same exact thing portrayed in their movie as it was in the
Mm.
comics. And I don't understand that. It's not going to happen. Like, from a selling point, first of all, why are you going to buy the same material twice? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right, just there. So it's not going to be the same. And like I said earlier, I'm along for the ride, and I want to see what happens. And I'm whether I like it or not, I'm interested in seeing what is this? What's gonna happen with this character in this universe in
Mm,
this movie, or what's gonna happen with this character in this comic book? Like,
mm,
I'm just I think it's
yeah.
really difficult to keep those things separate, but for me, it's like I'm just here for the ride. I love
Yeah.
Spider-Man, that's it.
Yeah. It's it all my like I say it goes back to my fan fiction roots and that I'm reading that. It's
Mm,
when I love the Harry Potter movies and I love the books. Yeah, they have
mhm.
some things that they leave out, obviously, because you can't make hours long movies that even though I'd watch them all the time. But
Yeah,
it's like
can't
two
be
different
6 hours.
yeah, it's two different stories of the same story. And that's why and
Mhm,
so it's like, well, like you want a this kind of Spider-Man, this runs for you. You want a married Spider-Man, renew your vows, and this portion of ASM is for you. And so it's like
mhm.
I had to. I was more in the beginning in my collecting of this is absolute bull. The he should, when I started collecting comics, I had no idea Peter and Mary Jane were divorced or not. Well, not divorced,
Mhm.
split up by the devil.
But
I
not
had no
together.
idea.
Yeah.
I thought they were still married. So that when I found out that they were not married, I was like, "What the?" At May at the end of Far From Home. What the?
Mhm.
And I was pissed. I was as pissed as Chi-Town was with Paul. And
Mhm.
so it's just
Mhm.
like I had to talk myself down, talk myself into a healthier state of mind in a sense to figure out, okay, they're not together anymore, but that doesn't mean that these issues disappeared. The past is
Yeah.
still the past. And so as I told Zeb Wells when I met him today, or not today, on Saturday, that I might not love particularly what's happening currently or certain aspects, but the past cannot be undone. It still exists. And so I can still go back and read those issues. I can go back and read Steve Ditko, Stan Lee's Spider-Man, Ramita and Conway, and then and live in that world. And while all the new books continue to come out at the same time. So I had to find my own peace of mind, and which is probably another reason why I'm a little more in the present when I'm in my grading too. And why I seem
Mhm.
to always usually be the highest or higher than average whenever I'm part of a review on the crawl space. I'm a little too zen at times. So my
Nothing wrong with
unbiasedness,
that.
yeah, I'm so unbiased. It's biasing. And
I met Zeb Wells in Chicago at C2E2. What was that? March in March. Really, really, really nice guy. He was willing to answer basically any question I had.
mm-hmm.
And I'm excited because I'll see him and some other people again in later this month.
Awesome,
Mhm.
awesome. Yeah, I had him sign the con exclusive ASM 26 that was there.
Nice.
Well, con exclusive for Fan Expo. I don't know if it was just limited to just that con, but then I had him sign the first issue that my letter to the editor was published in. So now I have Wells and Scott Hanna. I just need JRJR, and I can have the book sent out to be graded. So need to track him
Oh,
down.
bring that up again when we're off the show.
Yeah, cool,
Just
cool.
remember that, okay? Yeah.
All right, I'll try to remember that. But yeah, that's when this is like. I want those three guys just to have that because I don't even care what the grade comes back as. It's to have those three
Mhm.
people attached to,
Well,
you know.
to have been able to be able to meet them and talk to them about the things that they've done with, a character that you love.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, well, it's just amazing too because when I started collecting comic books, like I said, more of my story, even though we're supposed to be talking more about you, is the fact that I was all DC when when I started collecting. I was
Oh.
my favorite superhero was Superman. That's what
Mhm.
when I started collecting comics, my first two titles I got was Action Comics and Superman. That's what I started collecting. But somewhere along the way, watching at other YouTube channels, I watched Reggie Collects on YouTube here, and he was collecting a full run of Spider-Man, at least the cover A's, and his passion for Amazing Spider-Man, I saw why he liked Spider-Man, and it caught on with me, and
Yeah.
so I developed a love.
Inspired you.
Yeah, I was like going, well, Superman was who I inspired as a kid, but as an adult, I struggled to pay bills. I struggled to do the right thing. I struggled to take care of things, responsibility, and so it's like going like we're all Peter Parkers as adults. We can totally relate to Spider-Man and the character of Peter Parker, and so I switched to basically 99, 98% Marvel and this little sliver of DC.
Hmm.
And so and that's why I started collecting Amazing Spider-Man, and that passion led into a wildfire, which led into completing my collection in literally record time. The last issue I had to collect was First Flash's Anti-Venom, I believe.
Oh, yeah, it's like it's 6 or 5 something, 560
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
he's on the cover with Scorpion, and that was the last one I had to collect. Because I remember going like, oh, I better get those early issues as quickly as I can too, because they're only
Yeah.
get. And so, yep, I remember I collected 100 and I got it graded. In fact, it should be on the wall. Oh no, it's back there probably. But it was just so much fun. So,
Yeah, the first I can't I if I saw the cover, I'd be able to tell you if I'm correct or not. So I'm not going to give you a number. But the first Spider-Man comic book I ever bought was an Amazing Spider-Man.
uh,
I want to say it was in the 500s. It had a purple cover with Spider-Man on like just sitting doing a little spider squat on a rooftop. So I don't remember what number that was.
hmm.
I could go look later, but
Oh, it's probably I think it's well, I don't know if it's a 500s, but was it raining? Was it?
no, no, it was not.
Okay. Okay. I'm seeing I guess one of my iconic JR covers of Spider-Man in the rain on the roof. But maybe
Yes,
that's
yeah, I have that one. That was not my first one though. But I remember just like, okay, so I saw the movie,
hmm.
and first of all, I apologize for jumping around in the conversation. That's just kind of how it is with me, so I'm sorry.
I'm the
Um,
same. I'm the same way. Don't bother. Like I said, this conversation is kind of where I imagined it to be, but even if it's not, this is just two Spider-Man fans going at it. So continue.
so I saw the movie and I was like obsessed. And I was like, Mom, I need to go get a comic book. I need to see what this it has come from. And she will tell you that lost in the great flood of the basement, she had a Spider-Man 1. And
Oh,
so she yeah, and so we'll all have a moment of silence for that. Okay,
yeah.
so so she would read comic books too, her and her sister or my aunt. And so she's like, yeah, I'll take you. So I remember we drove to the closest mall and we went to because we didn't even think to look at a comic book store. I don't know why we didn't, but went to the mall, and the mall had this
Hmm.
bookstore. It was kind of like Barnes and Noble, but it wasn't a Barnes and Noble. And so we go in there, and there's a spinner rack. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
here they are. I'm spinning it. I don't see Spider Man. I don't see Spider Man. I'm like, man. So we go to the cashier. Oh, and the cashier told us that it was actually in a different spot. So I picked up that book
Mm,
and I read it, and I didn't keep up with it at that point in time. I wish I would have, but you're young and you're not in control of any money at all because you don't have a job. So,
mm,
um, I remember loving that issue and just wanting to read more. And so when I started actually collecting the comic books when I started college, I couldn't tell you what book that was at, but I've had every book since then. Every Wednesday going to my comic book store, just excited to see the art and what happens in the story. I mean, even if it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. So
yeah.
something about that movie, man. Something about it.
Yeah. Those movies are good. I remember watching one and two a lot. Three, I'd watch half the movie for sure. you always watch this. You always watch the Sandman Venom ending part there. You know, him swinging and like, look, and then him running across the American flag, going like, how patriotic. You
I
know.
actually watched it yesterday. I was dog sitting my friend's dog, and I was like to the dog, knowing that he can't talk back. Okay, let's just put that out there. I'm like, so what Spider-Man movie do you want to watch? So we watched Spider-Man 3. I don't think he liked it very much though.
Yeah. The last one I watched was the first Spider-Verse movie before we went to watch the second one, like a refresher.
Mm, yeah,
But
good idea.
I watched No Way Home a lot. No Way Home and Homecoming, and I watched Tom. I watched Tom a lot.
Hmm.
I like him a lot. He's the best of Spider-Man and Peter Parker. You know, Andrew plays a very good Spider-Man. I love the quirkiness of him, quippiness of him, and
Hmm.
Toby plays a very good Peter Parker, and Tom does a really good job at melding them together. I find for an
Hmm.
all-around Spider-Man. But where would you rate those movies? Or if far, if you had to pick which group of, I guess, well, I guess it's not three since Andrew didn't get a third. Well, he got a third,
Yeah,
but in the other one's movie. But
yeah.
I like it's hard for me to it's hard. It's one of those things I want to do. I want to do a video sometime where I actually rank all the Spider-Man movies. I'm not sure if I'm going to include the animated Spider-Verse movies because it's like that the inclusion of those two movies would completely upend the list.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
if I did just live action, it's like going like, ooh, No Way Home, Homecoming, and Spider-Man 2, which one gets first place?
Don't you see that like every day on Twitter though? Like I don't know about you, but I'm constantly seeing like like rating of the movies, and it's an image with all the like red tier, green tier. I don't remember what it's all called. I don't have the patience to make one of those. But like, are you asking me like which one's my favorite? Like which Spider-Man is my favorite?
Yeah, which Spider-Man, I guess, or which Spider-Man or which group of movies you find yourself gravitating towards the most, I guess. We'll put it that
Okay,
way. Not your favorites. Which one do you
okay.
find yourself rewatching the most?
Because I have students who ask me, well, which one's, I'm a teacher, and they're like, well, which one's your favorite and which actor? And I'm like, well, there's things I like about all three. But as
Mm,
far as which movies do I find myself revisiting, definitely the most I revisit Spider-Man 2.
mm.
That was, I remember going the day that movie came out. I think we went to the midnight showing. I'd have to double check with my mom, but I'm pretty sure we did, and I'm pretty sure I had school the next day. So, um, but that movie was great for so very many reasons, and it became a movie that I would watch. It was like a comfort movie to me. I'd watch it before I was going to bed, or like I'd just watch it to watch it, or
Mhm.
whatever. The second place would say is the Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I know that's not a popular one, but I did really like. There hasn't been a movie I haven't liked, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I do watch that one a lot.
Hmm.
And I guess third would be the first Spider-Man
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. Well, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 does. I mean, I do like I said one of the scenes I always remember is like him with the guy who would become the Rhino, him being the
Hmm.
quirkiness and the like, juggling around with those
I love that. I love
batteries
that
and
so much.
like I said, and his suit is right up there. It was one of the best. I mean, I do think I like either was Homecoming or Captain America: Civil War. I mean, it
Mhm.
was not. It was one of those two suits was yes slightly less accurate what they want Andrew Garfield wore in Amazing Spider-Man 2, but it was accurate enough that I liked it a lot.
Mhm.
And so, but yeah, Andrew, yeah, the story might not be particularly great in that regard, and I'm more interested in Spider Gwen than I am in Gwen Stacy. Period.
Mhm.
But yeah, there you can't have the current movies or the representation of the character without his contribution. But I do hear what you say about ranking. Like I said, if I had to pick the top three, yeah, it's somewhere between Homecoming, No Way Home, and Amazing Spider-Man number two. Just or not Amazing Spider-Man number 2, Spider-Man 2 with Toby, with
Mhm.
Doc Ock there. That fight, just
Oh, so good.
yeah, it's just one of those
So
things.
good. Oh, on the train. Oh man, I can't. I'll watch that scene over. I'll stop what I'm doing when that part. Okay. So you know how you put stuff on when you're doing other
Uh-huh.
things. I watch it, of course, without doing other things too. But if I happen to be doing something while the movie's on, I'll stop whatever I'm doing to watch any of those any of that scene. Like whatever. Oh, there's stuff on the oven. Okay, turn the oven off. Let's watch.
Yeah, my family, and my wife, like every once in a while, like I'm reading something or I'm watching a video, whatever, and then it's like
Mhm.
every once in a while, you get these stops where it's like literally 10 stops in a minute, and it's like going that, it's the first one's like, yeah, yeah, then after a while, it's like, yeah, it's like you're like, just give me 2 more minutes to finish this page or to finish this scene, and you can have my attention.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
You
Yep.
know, so it's like, oh, it's just like, yeah, just, but. I mean, I understand, I love Tom Holland in the MCU. Like I said, I love that Aunt May too. I love that Aunt May too. Just, yeah, it's not Rosemary, and it's not, oh crap, what's her name?
Oh, don't ask me about actors and actresses' names. Mm-mm,
Well,
I'm the
you're,
worst.
you're talking to the person when I say, when my wife will my wife will talk about someone. I said, character name, you know, most of the characters, give me that, like, don't tell me. I mean, okay, Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter. That's one of the names I'm very
I
familiar
know
with.
that.
You can tell me Daniel Radcliffe, and I know, but we're just gonna use him as an example. Don't tell me Daniel Radcliffe. Go, the guy who plays Harry Potter. Oh yeah,
Mhm,
him,
mhm.
kind of thing. That's
Yeah,
that's what you do. You know, just some actors. Just something like I know the character name, then that's how I put him with a face. So that's why I refer to people like, the guy who plays this, or the woman who plays that. That they're in this movie, and they're in this movie playing this character, and so I mean, I guess it's not particularly flattering in one sense to them, but at the same level, it's like you did such a good job. That's all I can think about you in that role is that person. So you sold me so much that I didn't learn your real name. You're this person.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I don't do it to like offend anyone or anything.
oh
I
yeah.
just am horrible with Like, I'm surprised I remember my own name sometimes.
Yeah, some days, especially when it seems like when you work more and more, it's like today is Wednesday, Tuesday. Does this still end in Y?
Well, especially a lot of people having yesterday off probably throws a lot of people off.
Oh yeah, that pissed me off to no end. It's like going, well, it's a good thing I have a second part-time job that I could go into for extra hours, 'cause damn it, you screw me over with hours. So I
Mhm.
got so pissed off at that. But that's just me being petty. I get to be petty once in a while. Uh,
Everybody does.
but so more about this. So you started, wow, we're at almost 50 minutes already. But you started doing things for the crawl space after you did your interview. Tell me more about your experiences in the crawl space.
Oh, I love it so much. Every time I go on, it's just cool to hear it. Like, because it's not like we're like every day, like, let's talk about Spider-Man. Like, no, it's not like that. So, like, being able to hear for the first time, like, their opinions and
Hmm.
views of the comic, next to my own, it's just really cool. It's cool to have a community of people, and it's not just like the panel of the crawl space, but also all the people who listen too, like being able to have a community of people that you can go to and just be like, did you see this one thing? Because I don't know anyone in my real life that's here, like here with me, that I can like go over to their house and go talk to them about Spider-Man. Like, it's not happening. Some people are like, yeah, like Spider-Man's cool, but they don't know about Spider-Man like I know
Hmm.
about Spider-Man. So I love that aspect of it. I mean, it's cool to hang out, and I can't say that I've ever had a show where I haven't been laughing,
Yeah.
and that's just the best. Like, to have a good time talking about Spider-Man and hear other people's opinions and being able to get mine out there and being able to learn new things
Hmm.
about Spider-Man as well. Like, there's so many things even before I was doing stuff for the crawl space. There's stuff that I learned through like the collectors episodes or Spider History with JR and Brad and stuff like that. I mean, it's just really cool. And to be a fan of something for so long and to be asked to be on that was
Mhm.
so cool. I was like, me? Yeah, let's go. Like, this will be fun. We get to talk about Spider-Man. I love that.
Yeah, I'm sitting here watching the audience going, "Where do I put my application in?" I can't write very well, but I'll review the crap out of something. I
Well,
love.
it is a lot of work, because not only are you writing the summaries, I mean, obviously you have to understand what's going on in the book.
Mhm,
I read the books multiple times before I even start writing the summary because I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. And then you have to, condense it down and depending on what show it is, right? Like
mhm.
Satellites, the summary is a little shorter because there are so many books. Um, but doing that, and of course you have to purchase the book, and I don't do that. I have digital copies of everything because they give them to you, but I prefer to have it in my hand
Oh,
and like get my
same.
grubby little hands on it and read it. So but I mean it is some work, but it's not like, oh, this is work. It's like, oh, cool, like I'm gonna be writing this thing and we're gonna talk about it and it's gonna be awesome. Like that's how I do it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, same. Just other issues like that. I love having, I can read. I have a facsimile of 129, or I had well, while Marvel still had its one app up, I bought the digital copy right away on Wednesday so I could read it,
Hmm.
and then I could wait for the physical copy to come out. But my thing had changed a little bit since they merged the two apps or canceled the one.
Yeah, they did.
But
I still have to figure that situation out, but I'll do
yeah,
that later.
yeah, I mean, but it has me thinking, going, I think I need a Kindle and buy the book off of and buy the digital copy on Amazon. I think that's
Hmm.
my plan, kind of a thing, if I had to do it. But yeah, I am the same way. I love the physical copy of book in my hand. I love my books. I mean, I buy some of my books multiple times for comics and real.
Mhm,
Like I have a copy of uh Walter Isaacson's book on Leonardo da Vinci, for example. I have that
mhm,
physical book, but I also have it digitally, and I'll listen to it. I'll listen to a book once in a while at work, or I'll listen to my
mhm,
podcasts at
mhm.
work. It's just like I have the physical copy, but if the digital ever goes down, I have the physical to read, but I can listen to things at work. So yeah, I
Yeah.
do love to listen to that, but just very, very good. But oh, and now if I remember my point, I almost lost it. But I love watching the characteristics and the personalities of all you guys. Like, I
Mhm.
love a lot of Brad's dad jokes.
Oh my god, I am so here for that. I am so
Yeah,
here for that. Yes.
I am the self comedian. I joke a lot, I kid a lot. I can vary in extremes as far as my personality. I don't do middle grounds a lot. I tend to be more happy and sad, like the masks of theater.
Mhm. Yeah.
But and so part of my good personality and all that is I joke a lot in that regard. And so I do a lot of fun. I like make myself laugh more. Most importantly, make my wife laugh. So Brad's dad jokes and his mentality and all that, I like that, and that's why I like encouraging, Brad on and all that, and telling, and saying things, and then George going like, "Don't encourage him." So I'm like going,
Well,
"Never."
that's why when I forget what show it even was, but I was like, Brad, I'm gonna make a Google Doc. We're gonna make this happen. There is a Google Doc out there with all of these ridiculous things that Brad says. So it has begun. The what do you call it? The data collection of the
Yeah,
hilarity has transpired.
yeah. Well, one of the recents from I think one of the recents was from from the Crawl Space Patreon was
Mhm.
Brad's out of context phrasing of we all take our turns on top of this person, kind of thing. And so
Yep.
like, and so it's like, so I won't say her name just because out of context and all that. But the funny part there is,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but so I'm sitting and listening to that work going,
Sometimes I'll be like, so I like if I miss a show, I'll still watch it and listen to it, right? I mean, even if
yeah,
I'm on the show, I listen to it again just because, I like hearing about Spider-Man. Like it's just,
hmm
it's one of the things that makes me happy. So sometimes I'll be watching a show that I have not seen yet, and I'm just like, oh my god, Brad, you know. But it's in the most wonderful way. And sometimes he does it on purpose. Don't let him
Yeah,
trick you. Don't let him
yeah.
trick you.
Well, yeah, it's just I'm one of the people like let's say when I find new podcasts I like, I usually go back to the beginning. And so when I
That's a
found the
lot of episodes. Yeah.
yeah, I found the crawl space after COVID started, after I finished another Spider-Man podcast currently. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it was actually just during the middle of still during the middle of the shutdown or whatever when issues weren't coming out. And so I was going back listening to over 700 I think episodes at the time
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
of Fire and Crawl Space. You know, it's quite
Mm-hmm.
daunting
Yeah.
for most people, but I'm like one of those people just over and over again. So episodes like when they were doing the review for Amazing Spider-Man 650 and Black Cat Felicia's in her milk bath, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like laughing at Brad while they're talking about that. But when I read 650, in all fairness
It's
to
been
Brad,
tainted now.
no, in all fairness to Brad, it took me 5 minutes to get off that page myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
going like,
You're like, what is going on here?
I'm enjoying Felicia in this milk bath. I cannot deny, you know. So it's like, you know, me, Brad, and I are cut off the same cloth in that regard. That we're just that kind of funny guy, you know, kind of a thing. So yeah, that's the reason why he's one of my favorites, you know, as far as the panel members. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, like I said, I love the crawl space. I catch you guys live when I can. Anymore, it seems like I miss half of them because life gets in the way, and it's just
Yeah.
so it's just like ugh. And then plus the other, and then part of them are just like, well, I can either spend time with my wife and not get yelled at, or I can watch the crawl space
Yeah.
for 4 hours at night and
It is a
get in
commitment for
trouble.
sure.
So it's like so it's like every once in a while my wife's out of town and it's on a Friday night, and we're like, hey, crawl space is live. I get to
Yeah.
watch. Put YouTube on my TV and just have you guys going on while I'm doing stuff.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed a lot having you on. It's been a lot of fun. So I've been trying to get. It's hard to communicate through Twitter. It just seems
Yeah.
like it's hard to communicate through Twitter. But finally we're able to at least talk somewhat about Spider Punk and you, and a lot of fun. But here you go. What is your favorite or one of your favorite issues of ASM that you own?
Well, that's great that you asked because I brought them. Okay, so my first favorite is sorry if you hear that. My cat is trying to open the closet and
Okay.
he's succeeding. Okay, so this is my favorite issue for a
Ooh.
plethora of reasons, but if you look,
Yeah.
collecting this issue was amazing, literally. So,
Yes.
so I was at C2E2. I forget what year. I was with my mom, and because my mom and I like to do those kind of things. She's into comic books too, and
Hmm.
um, so we heard that Stan Lee was going to be there, and I didn't have any
Yeah.
of my comic books with me. Like I don't. It was I think it was one of the first times I had attended a con of that gratitude. So
Mm.
I was like, oh, I gotta go buy a book right now. Like I gotta go buy it. I have to, this needs to happen. So I ended up getting this one, and as I'm sure you know, this is the first appearance of Gwen Stacy and Harry Osborn, and
Yes.
also one of the first multi-issue story, right? So story that was
Hmm.
tied in multiple issues. So I bought this, and then I was able to meet Stan Lee, and me and my mom got a picture with him, and then he kindly signed this for me.
Yeah.
And I obviously can't open it, but I've reread and reread and reread and reread this issue
Yeah.
so many times.
Yeah.
And just to have that story and just be able to meet him, and um it was just really cool. It was
Yeah.
really cool.
I have one book. I used to have two, but I sold it. I sold the second one for signed by Stan Lee for as a Fantastic Four book, so I could justify selling it. But
Hmm.
I own one Stan Lee book. I had to have his signature. It was signed a month before he died. It's ASM 43, the first full appearance of Mary Jane and the Origin of the
Hmm.
Rhino. So it's like going like, well, if I had to have a book signed by Stan Lee and a character that I really care about, Mary Jane, I couldn't
Hmm.
almost think of a more perfect issue at the time. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, but some of the other books. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, I got here, I guess I'll go in order. I got this one. I
Yeah.
got I was at a Vegas con I live in Las Vegas, and I was
Mhm.
at a Vegas con when I got this, and some of the cons here are a little smaller,
Mhm.
but then we also have like bigger name people like who oh, I'm blanking. Oh my goodness. I'll come back to that. But we have bigger name people that show up to these
Mhm.
smaller cons. So there's like no one at their tables. So anyway, I went to this vendor. I always make a habit when I go to cons of going to the same comic book vendors if they have books that I like
Mhm.
all 3 or 4 or however many days of the con. Because we all know that on the last day of the con, and for those of you that don't, you're welcome. On the last day of the con, they want to get rid of their stuff. They don't want to bring it home with them. So they're willing to be like barter a little bit more with the sales price. So I remember the guy who sold me this had several copies of this issue. This one was in the poorest condition. Again, the reason that I got it was because of the price point. So he had wanted a certain amount. I was able to wrangle him down. He's like, I remember you. You were in Spider-Man Far From Home cosplay yesterday. I'm like, yeah. So I got this one. And obviously, this is one of the most influential books. As I'm sure you would probably agree,
Mhm.
about never giving up and it's just amazing book.
Yeah.
Then I got this at a con in
Yeah.
Vegas too. But the only bad thing is that there's that on there. But
Yeah.
this was $30.
Well,
So
I'll buy it for
I'm
I'll buy
like,
it for 40.
yep, that's me. I think one of the staples is messed up, but I don't care. I'll take that. I don't even have to talk about how important this story is. So
Mhm.
there's that, and also First John Romita Senior issue. Um, I got this recently. I This has escaped me for so many years,
Yeah.
and I finally found it at a price that I was willing to buy it at, and here we are. Not the biggest fan of the story. I think it's a little strange, but I do love the cover. Obviously,
Yeah.
I have it up here too.
Yeah.
Um, and the last one I brought out is this. Um,
Yeah.
for
He
obvious
signed.
reasons.
Yeah.
And I was able to meet Todd McFarlane at San Diego Comic Con several years ago, and was able to again going ahead to be able to meet the people who make the things I love so much. Just cool to be able to ask questions and just be like, man, like your art is so cool, like or
Yeah.
can I buy a print from you? Like it's just
Yeah.
cool. So there's
Mine
memories
signed.
associated.
Yeah, mine signed by Todd too. In fact, I had one time a couple years ago we came into some money problems when my wife lost her job unexpectedly, and so I sold a couple issues of comic books to basically get a couple of months of her salary to cover
Mhm.
her until she got another job. One of the books I sold was my copy of ASM 300 at the time, newsstand signed by Todd McFarlane, and as soon as I could, I bought it back, and
Okay, that's
along
good.
with a couple others. So it's like, well, I lost the newsstand label, and I lost the newsstand, and because this new one's a direct,
Mhm.
and the old one was signed Todd McFarlane, this new one signed T McFarlane, but at the same time, the benefit is I went from a 7.5 to an 8.0. So it's like
Okay,
I will.
yeah.
I'm a maybe it's I think it's my I think it's weird. I think it's partially my attitude towards school as a kid, but I don't like a lot of the point the five a lot of point fives, particularly particularly when it's like 7.5 because that's like almost failing. C it's almost failing in that regard. So it's like something about
Yeah,
7.5
yeah,
bugs
I
me.
get that.
So, but in that regard, but yeah, a couple. I'm here. I understand with you that certain issues like my copy of ASM one is coverless.
Oh, that's
You know,
cool.
so I had it
That's
signed
so
by
cool though.
CBC, graded by CBCS because they had graded a point 0.3 instead of an NA. I did not
Uh-huh.
want that NA or coverless thing. I wanted to actually have a letter grade. So it's cool. So I can see right there on the cover
Yeah.
Stan Lee and Steve Ditko and just maybe Spider-Man #1 there. So love it. And showing off a couple of
Yeah,
my books here.
I refuse to buy CGC graded. I just hate that. And there's nothing wrong with it, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I want to be like the only issue in my collection that I cannot open and read is the Stan Lee signed
Yeah.
one, and that still irks me. Like, I want to be able to open, like, yeah, I'm never gonna sell it. Well, let's hope never gonna sell it. So I don't have
Yeah.
any graded books for that
Yeah.
reason.
I just I can remember the stories, and if it bothers me that much, I'll either buy a digital copy of it or I'll buy a
Mm-hmm.
reprint of it. Or in some cases,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the book, I have a double. Like I
Yeah.
have well, that's one of the reasons why I like facsimiles so much. I got the facsimile of 129. I can read
Mm-hmm.
that, and it's exactly how that book is, back in the day. But
And it
like,
doesn't smell the same.
well, I don't smell it, even though I enjoy
I'm joking. I'm joking.
it.
I'm joking.
But yeah, like this
Oh,
is
that's
one.
awesome.
But like I said, this is one of the conditions here. I got tape residue on 3 of the 4 sides. A big old ugly moisture stain thing here. This is like this. I think this was like the last book I needed in the 1 through 10
Mm-hmm.
was this particular issue. Just it's one of my favorites because 3 is my lucky number. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the kind of thing. And I found it while I was looking for ASM 1, the last book I needed for my collection to complete my ASM run 1 through current. So
That's cool.
habit
That's
habit.
crazy that that was your last one.
Yeah, I don't know why it just happened in that way. But the funny thing is, there's a very funny thing attached to this story. I saw it on eBay. I thought, well, it's the last one. I might as well go all out instead of buying it raw, trying to get raw. Like, let's just settle for a graded copy because I think I'm gonna end up grading it anyway, right? And all whatever. And so I found this 9.8. The guy I talked to on eBay messaged. He actually had seen he'd seen my channel here. He actually
Oh, that's cool.
so he'd actually seen me and watched a few of my videos and going, like I'm like, just like I think I mentioned like going, yeah, I got a YouTube channel, Mr. Comics 89. That just like, this is my last book I need, and I look forward to unboxing on my channel. And like, so it's like really funny that the last book that I needed for my run was bought from somebody who had watched and enjoyed my videos, or at least enough of my
That's
videos to mention. So it's like going like, it'll make me cry.
oh, that's so cool though.
So
That's so cool.
that's my sentimental and attachment there. Just yeah, it's not a overly valuable book, but it's a sentimental book now for the fact that it's for more reason than one. But anyway, yeah, this has been a lot of fun, and I don't want to have the video stretch for too much longer
Mhm.
because it'll be tough enough for anyone watching the video to actually make it more than an hour. Podcast is another matter. People listen to things a lot easier than they watch it. But is there anything you'd like to shout out or mention about yourself before we sign off here?
Yeah, I actually had a couple other things that Spider-Punk related items that I
Okay,
wanted to show you, if that's okay.
perfectly fine.
Um, well, so and there's not that much Spider-Man or Spider-Punk stuff out there as well. I mean, it's a little different now since the movie came out, but this was really the first like really cool Spider-Punk thing that I got. Just a
Yeah.
little statue from the game. I love the little guitar, right? Perfect. And
Yeah.
it comes off too. You could take the guitar off and but I mean like just to look at the like the detail on it, you
Uh-huh.
know, is really cool. And this actually helped me make my Spider Punk jacket that I made to go with my cosplay. And yeah, so many studs. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I also have the mask that I made for Spider Punk.
Yeah.
I had taken like an old mask that like the eyes were sewn in and like wasn't a good mask, and I had just made this using like folders and like some vinyl and
Yeah.
some studs. So that was fun, and since I've done that, I've learned to do many other things. Actually, today my friend was over and we were making. He was showing me how to do leather work, and so the goal is to make the pouches and the belt for Scarlet Spider. So
Hmm.
that'll be soon. And then one other thing that I picked up recently that I thought was cool is this. So this is entirely made
Ooh.
out of like blocks, right? Like Legos. And it has a bunch of spider people in there.
Hmm.
I don't know if you can
Wow.
see. There we go.
Yeah, little Lego pieces looks very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So that's something I got recently that I thought was pretty cool. It took forever to put together.
Yeah, I can imagine. My Funko Pop collecting has changed. I've whittled down a lot of the non-Spider-Man pops, kept everything Spider-Man related, but
Hmm.
I narrowed down like 50 pops from my collection because like, well, I don't need you. You're not, don't need you, don't need you. You're not Spider-Man, I don't need you.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of fun. But yeah, well, it's been a pleasure having you on. And anyone still watching or still listening, you check out Spider-Man Crawl Space. They do the reviews of the current issues. They do the yearly show of Spider Jeopardy where Brad's gonna be defending his title. Brad's gonna be defending his title here soon. So
That was a fluke. That was a fluke. I'll text him that right now.
yeah, I designed that special picture for him and that I saw. That's like, well, I was so happy for Brad because I rooted for Brad for a couple
Oh
of
yeah,
years.
no, I'm just messing around, but yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. I
but
want to make a trophy.
yeah, that's what we need to do is take some sort of cheap well, hell, not even some sort of cheap trophy. Buy some sort of actual real trophy that you
Mhm.
mail to each other
Yeah.
and all that, so you can actually have Spider Jeopardy champion
Oh
and
yeah,
just
I'm a teacher. I got access to all these really bad trophies and medals and stuff like that. Like, let's go.
yeah, that'd be cool. Just to have some sort of have someone who metalworker design and weld on some sort of spider logo or crawl space logo, that kind of thing. But yeah, anyway, it's been a pleasure having you on. We'll have to do it again sometime or whatever if we find the time to, between my busy schedule and yours as a teacher coming up here. You only have a couple more months of
Shh.
vacation.
Shh.
Okay, we'll keep it quiet for some reason. So,
No, no, don't remind me that there's
uh,
only this much time until school starts again.
yeah, my wife is actually trying to become an English teacher. She's
Oh, cool.
having trouble with her certification for by Colorado, but
It's a lot of hoops.
well, she doesn't. She's a very smart person, but she's one of those that doesn't test well.
Yeah, the
So
license is really dependent on at least 5 different state tests,
yeah,
depending on the state.
so she's a
Yeah.
very smart person, in some cases smarter than me, but yeah, well, if you can't test well on it's just a struggle. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so everyone watching, check out. I'll drop a link if I can remember onto Spider-Man Crawl Space. The website on YouTube. Sub Brad up there so he can get over
Mhm.
2,000 subscribers. I
Mhm.
will see if I can remember. I'll drop a link to your Twitter page or one or
Mhm.
both of them so they can
Yeah.
check you out and follow you and all that. And well, that's about it. So it's another interview with the Spider-Man community, that our comic book community that I like to do. And while it was a lot less Spider Punk than I originally thought it would be, I had just as much fun as I would have had. So thank you very much for being
Yeah,
on.
thank you for having me on. And yeah, if you wanna follow me, it's at Sarah Pezel and it's spelled right there.
Yeah. For those of you watching for those of you listening to the podcast, Pezel. And
Hmm.
all right. So
Sarah with no H.
yeah, Sarah with no A. So yeah, so I had a thought, now I lost it. Oh well. Take care, everyone. Happy collecting, and I'll see you guys next time. Talk to you later.